Welcome back, everybody, to episode 3 of our Destiny Crucible eras. Today we'll be covering the hand cannon era, which will actually divide into two videos. The first one being the Last Word in Hawkmoon, and then we'll have a solo dedicated video to the Thorn, because the Thorn era just lasted for almost all of year 1. Now, for the first year, hand cannons were possibly the most dominant weapon in the Crucible. It started off with the Last Word in the Hawkmoon. The Hawkmoon was only PS4 exclusive, well, PS3 exclusive as well, but who's up for those old gen consoles? Now, we'll start off with the Last Word. The Last Word was a full auto hand cannon that could fire from the hip really accurately. It was a basic revolver. It's, a cowboy style weapon. You could watch any cowboy movie and they'd be firing from the hip with a revolver. That's what the Last Word was imitating. It had increased stability and increased damage from the hip. But what set it aside from other hand cannons was its two-shot capability at the very beginning when it was first introduced. When I say two-shot, I literally mean two shots, one shot to the head, one shot to the body, person would be dead. It would be 3 shots to the body, but this had to be from the hip. If you ADS'd, it would not count for the 2 shots. Personally, I only found this weapon later on after Dark Below was released, almost until House of Wolves was about to release. I got it out of Vault of Glass, basically, through the exotic chest like everybody else would get exotics. And it's one weapon that spoke to me at first, and I played with it for a couple weeks. And I didn't realize that this was the Last Word, the best gun at the time. What happened was I started using the universal remote after, and I dropped off from hand cannons. But then I realized that there was a spike. And this was really the climax of Crucible for me. And it was the most hated time for Crucible. I really hated that Last Word and the Thorn. The Last Word specifically, the perks, the way it played, the stability, you couldn't beat it. The weapon was incredible at a range. It was a laser with 2-shot capability, and then they nerfed it a little to make it a 3-shot, but it still had that increased accuracy and everything. It's insane. The only thing I thought that it really needed to be nerfed after it was changed to a 3, now it's a 4-shot gun, take away the full auto. I would say increase the rate of fire, but take away full auto. So the person with the fastest trigger finger would actually win the battle. And that's what, revolvers are made for. The person with the fastest trigger finger can pull it off. But, unfortunately, we're reaching the end of Destiny 1. Destiny 2 was just announced with all the live stream perks and that we've been covering. And it feels like they could have fixed Last Word, but they left it. And now it somewhat still dominates Crucible, but early in that year, it was a disaster. The next gun is the Hawkmoon, and Xbox players only got the Hawkmoon later on, near the end of, at the beginning of year 2. And you could get it out of an Ingram that they would give you, a Legacy Ingram. I actually got the Monte Carlo instead of the Hawkmoon. But it was a good gun, and it still is a good gun. It's got its 3-shot capability with a double look in the chamber. You could possibly even 2-shot people. I'm not sure about that. Don't quote me on it. But what set it aside was the stacking of the perks. Because what happens is the Hawkmoon comes with the luck in the chamber perk, and then its bonus exotic perk allows it to get a second luck in the chamber round. The problem was, early on, and even up until about, mid-Thorn era, the Hawkmoon had a 2-shot capability when it stacked. What I mean by stacked was the luck in the chamber and the exotic perk would end up on one bullet. And what would happen then was honestly a piss off for anybody who came up against it. Luckily, Xbox players didn't have to experience this threat, but PlayStation players were caught with it day in and day out, and they were just dying from it. Now, this era lasted up until about beginning of House of Wolves, mid House of Wolves, I'd say, when Trials was really flourishing and people were really starting to use these weapons. But the problem was, then the Thorn came, and when the Thorn came, it was just total disaster in the Crucible, and they didn't fix it. They didn't even bother fixing it. Only when Taken King came out is when they finally said, no more of these guns, although the last word was brought back. Now, all in all, it was an okay era. I was a shotgun player at the time. I wasn't using any hand cannons, not really using any other primaries. For me, it was using a sniper, my, favorite guns, and the universal remote. That was what I used during that era. And every time I came up against a hand cannon, I was on the verge of rage quitting. But I wasn't the only one. The rest of the guys in our group always constantly wanted to rage quit, but that's how the game was. That was my most hated era, including the Thorn era. But yeah, that's honestly all there is to it. Two-shot guns. And all in all, it's a disaster. And hopefully we don't have a repetition of that in Destiny 2. I hope there is a balance. I hope there is a concrete new Crucible uprooting and just completely change everything. Make every weapon balanced, every weapon usable on certain maps. We'll cover the Crucible stuff later on for Destiny 2, but Bungo, you gotta get your shit straightened out when it comes to Crucible, because you can't have these two-shot guns anymore. Like, I understand if it's a 3-shot from close range, that I can deal with. But don't give us another last word or hawk move. You're gonna make us lose our shit. Streamers love it, players hate it. And unfortunately, they listen to the streamers. But that's enough. I ranted this episode. I didn't even give you stats or, concrete information. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned. We're going to have episode 4, the Thorn era, coming out next week. And, yeah, I really went on a rant. I didn't even give any concrete information. But if you guys did enjoy, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. The notification really helps out because you guys will know when I upload a new video, either it be Destiny 2 news, some gameplay, or live streaming, or even the episodes like we're doing now. I hope you enjoyed, guys, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode.